1968 was a wild year for music. While everyone remembers the big names, some incredible songs hit the charts once and disappeared forever. These 10 tracks tell stories you've probably never heard. The Lemon Pipers were just college kids when they got started. Lead singer Dale Peters absolutely hated Green Tambourine,
My green tambourine.
and the psychedelic direction their label forced on them. The band was actually a blues rock group that got trapped in a contract requiring them to record commercial jingles disguised as songs. Peters went on to become the bassist for the James Gang with Joe Walsh, while the other members left the music scene. Now here's the kicker. Green Tambourine was originally written as a commercial jingle for a soft drink company. The Lemon Pipers record label literally took an advertisement and turned it into their biggest hit without telling the band. Status Quo recorded Pictures of Matchstick Men when they were still called the Spectres, a psychedelic band trying to ride the wave of British invasion weirdness. Francis Rossi wrote the song after experimenting with mind-altering substances, and the distinctive guitar sound came from a broken amplifier they simply couldn't afford to fix. Today, Status Quo holds the record for the most British chart entries by any rock band, but American audiences forgot about them after this single psychedelic moment. The controversial truth? Rossi later revealed that half the band was tripping on LSD during the recording session, which explains the song's otherworldly atmosphere. The record company had no clue they were promoting a song literally inspired by illegal drug use, and radio stations played it nationwide without knowing its true origins. If you're enjoying these forgotten stories, hit that like button and subscribe for more music history they don't want you to know. Share this with anyone who lived through 1968. They'll thank you for the memories. John Fred Gurrier was a high school football coach from Louisiana who formed John Fred and his Playboy Band and moonlighted as a musician when Judy in Disguise exploded onto the charts.
Judy in the sky.
The song was a direct parody of the Beatles' Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, and Fred openly admitted he was mocking the psychedelic movement while cashing in on it. Fred returned to coaching after his brief fame, spending decades teaching teenagers while secretly being a former chart topper. The scandalous part? Fred's Playboy Band name caused massive problems with Hugh Hefner's legal team, who threatened to sue for trademark infringement. The band had to prove they existed before Playboy magazine's widespread recognition, leading to a bitter legal battle that consumed most of their hit song profits. Fred also admitted years later that Judy was based on a real woman who rejected his advances. The song was essentially his musical revenge against a girl who wouldn't date him. Paul Mauriat was a French orchestra leader who turned a Eurovision Song Contest entry into an instrumental sensation that dominated American radio for months. Mauriat stripped away the vocals, added lush orchestration, and created something that appealed to middle-aged Americans who were tired of rock music. His orchestra was filled with classical musicians who looked down on pop music but needed the money. Mauriat continued conducting until his death in 2006, never again matching his American success. The dirty secret behind Love is Blue involves payola and radio station bribes that were rampant in 1968. Mauriat's American record label allegedly paid substantial money to program directors across the country to ensure heavy rotation. Several radio executives later admitted they were instructed to play the instrumental version specifically to counter the corrupting influence of rock lyrics on American youth. The song became a tool in the cultural war between traditional values and the counterculture movement. People were a San Jose band whose members included future Jefferson Starship guitarist Larry Lalonde, though he was just a teenager when they recorded I Love You. Lead singer Jeff Levin went on to become a successful TV composer, writing music for shows like Cheers and Wings. The band members were mostly college students who treated music as a part-time gig until their single unexpectedly climbed the charts. People lied about their ages on their record contract because 3 members were under 18, making their recording agreement technically invalid. Their management created fake identification documents to get them into clubs and recording studios. The band also claimed to be part of the hippie movement while actually living with their parents in suburban homes and driving to San Francisco to pretend that they were part of the counterculture scene. Need more forgotten music history? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and hit that share button and spread these stories to fellow music lovers who remember when radio was actually surprising. The Fireballs were an instrumental surf rock band from New Mexico who reluctantly added vocals to stay commercially viable as the British invasion changed American tastes. Bottle of Wine was their attempt to sound contemporary, but lead singer Chuck Tharp felt embarrassed by the song's simple lyrics and country-influenced style. Tharp left music entirely after their brief success, becoming an insurance salesman who rarely mentioned his rock and roll past to clients. The Fireballs record label pressured them to record Bottle of Wine by threatening to drop them from their contract. Band members later revealed they were all teetotalers who had never been drunk when they recorded their drinking song, making the entire performance a complete fabrication. Gene Thomas and Debbie Neville were a married couple from Texas whose relationship was falling apart when they recorded Playboy.
Hey boy.
The song's romantic lyrics masked the reality that Thomas was having multiple affairs, and Neville suspected his infidelity. The recording session was filled with tension, and they were barely speaking to each other between takes. The irony of a cheating husband singing about being a playboy while his wife harmonized wasn't lost on their producer, who later called it the most uncomfortable recording session of his career. They divorced shortly after their hit peaked, and both left the music industry entirely. Gene Thomas was simultaneously dating 3 different women while married to Debbie, and she discovered his affairs through fan mail addressed to him at their shared home. The couple's marriage counselor later revealed that Thomas brought his mistresses to recording studios and industry parties, often introducing them as backup singers while his wife performed on stage. Their hit song became a bitter reminder of their failed relationship, and Neville refused to perform it live after their divorce. Blue Cheer turned Eddie Cochran's rockabilly classic into the loudest, most distorted recording ever pressed to vinyl in 1968. They're credited with inventing heavy metal, though they were too stoned most of the time to realize their historical significance. Peterson continued playing blues rock until his death in 2009, while guitarist Lee Stevens became a reclusive figure who rarely discussed his groundbreaking contributions to loud music. Blue Cheer's version of Summertime Blues was recorded so loudly that it registered seismic activity on nearby earthquake monitoring equipment. The band was also notorious for their massive LSD consumption. They allegedly dropped acid before every recording session and live performance. Peterson later admitted they were so high during most of 1968, they couldn't even remember recording their most famous song and had to relearn it by listening to their own record. Herbert Carey, known as Tiny Tim, was a 36-year-old virgin when his falsetto ukulele performance made him a novelty sensation. He spent years researching obscure songs from the 1920s and performing in Greenwich Village coffee houses before his appearance on The Tonight Show changed his life overnight. Tiny Tim was actually a serious musicologist who collected vintage sheet music and could perform hundreds of forgotten songs from memory. He continued performing until his death in 1996, suffering a heart attack on stage while singing Tiptoe Through the Tulips. Tiny Tim's personal life was even stranger than his public persona. He remained celibate until age 37, bathing in cold water daily and sleeping on a bare mattress because he believed physical comfort was sinful. His marriage to 17-year-old Victoria Buttinger on The Tonight Show was watched by 45 million viewers, but the relationship was reportedly never consummated. He also claimed to communicate directly with historical figures through seances and insisted that his high voice was a gift from God intended to preserve America's musical heritage. The Irish Rovers were actually Canadian folk singers who adopted Irish personas to seem more authentic to American audiences hungry for Celtic culture. The Unicorn was written by Shel Silverstein, the same man who wrote children's books and Playboy cartoons, giving the song an unexpected pedigree. The Rovers performed the song thousands of times over 5 decades, becoming trapped by their own success as audiences demanded their novelty hit at every concert. Several original members died while still performing the Unicorn well into their 70s, unable to escape the song that defined their careers. The Irish Rovers fabricated their entire origin story. Most members were born in Canada and had never lived in Ireland when they formed the group. Their authentic Irish accents were completely fake, learned from movies and television shows. The band's management created detailed fictional biographies for each member, including made-up Irish hometowns and family histories that they maintained for decades. When Irish media eventually discovered the deception, it caused a scandal that nearly ended their European touring career. These 10 songs prove that 1968 was stranger than anyone remembers. The stories behind the music reveal an industry built on deception, drugs, and desperate attempts to capture lightning in a bottle. If these forgotten tales surprised you, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share these stories with anyone who thinks they know everything about the 60s. The truth about popular music is always more interesting than the official version.